Hey guys, welcome to Dork Forge. My name's Paul, and this is our Tasha's Cauldron of Everything series. Do you want more D&D and Tasha's content? Then hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Every subscriber helps to build and support our channel, and we are extremely grateful for each and every one of you. But now it's time to book yourself a padded room. Real year has risen, and it's time for us to take a look at the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer. Disclaimer, I am getting a little bit sick, so I apologize if at any point I start to, clear my throat, cough, or cover you with entirely non-psionic mucus. Moving on, the Aberrant Mind. Now, this is a sorceress origin that draws on the Far Realm. It's playing on moving between psionic powers, kind of like your naturally psionic energies, and being influenced by things that are a bit eldritch in nature. And this is, I feel, a little bit of a mixed theming. I think the fact that it leans more heavily on the Eldritch Far Realm thing is good, because Psionics is not particularly strong in this subclass, shall we say. But getting straight into it. Now, we do have a table for our origins. You can roll on this to determine why you're an Aberrant Mind, or you can pick from it, and we'll just take a quick run through that. So first up, you were exposed to the Far Realm's warping influence. You are convinced that a tentacle is growing on you, but no one else can see it. A psychic wind from the astral plane carried psionic energy to you. When you use your powers, faint motes of light sparkle around you. You once suffered the dominating powers of an aboleth, leaving you with a psychic splinter in your mind. You were implanted with a mind-flayed tadpole. That is horrifying. If you've not seen the opening cinematic from Baldur's Gate 3, go look at that, that is terrifying. Anyway, but the Ceramorphosis never completed, and now its psionic power is yours. When you use it, your flesh shines with a strange mucus. You're going to get a lot of this. There's a lot of mucus and tentacles. As a child, you had an imaginary friend that looked like a flump or a strange platypus-like creature. One day it gifted you with psionic powers which have ended up being not so imaginary. I don't know why this book leans so heavily on flumps, but I guess jellyfish creatures are kind of weird. And finally, your nightmares whisper the truth to you. Your psionic powers are not your own. You draw them from your parasitic twin. Interesting. So there's quite a variety of origins there. Pick what you want, come up with your own reason. Maybe you are actually an elder god. There's a lot of room to play with here. Just whatever tickles your fancy at the end of the day. Getting into the actual mechanics of it. Now, just like the Clockwork Sorcerer, we have an expanded spell list. This is referred to as our psionic spells, and at certain levels you're going to get these spells added to your spells known without counting against them. And just like the Clockwork Sorcerer, you can also choose to swap out one of these spells when you gain a Sorcerer level from either the Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard list, but it must be a Divination or Enchantment spell. Now, that is still crazy. That is, still absolutely insane. And given that the level 6 ability of this Sorcerer allows you to basically cast cheaply, we'll get there, is even more insane. So these sorcerers, both this and the Clockwork Sorcerer in some ways, are certainly more powerful in some ways than the PHP and the Xanathar sorcerers. Getting into what spells we actually get though. At first level you're going to get Arms of Hadar, Dissonant Whispers and Mind Sliver. Third level, Calm Emotions and Detect Thoughts. Fifth level, Hunger of Hadar and Sending. 7th level, Avard's Black Tentacles, or if you're using the SRD, just Black Tentacles. A new spell, Summon Aberration, and at 9th level, Rary's Telepathic Bond and Telekinesis. So a good mix of psionic mental things and just random tentacles in your everyday life. Moving on to the second first level ability we're going to get here, and it is confusing. Whilst we're here, here's a normal skin coloured tiefling. It's an odd choice, but hey, there's your Aberrant Mind art. Her hair kind of looks like fire. But the other feature we get is telepathic speech. You can form a telepathic connection between your mind and another. So as a bonus action, you choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you. Bear in mind that the 30 feet limitation is only for establishing the connection. You and the chosen creature can speak telepathically with each other while the two of you are within a number of miles equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1 mile. That's pretty crazy, right? So you could potentially have a telepathic link up to 5 miles away. That's pretty sweet. Then we get the normal disclaimer of to understand each other, you must speak mentally in a language the other knows. So you have to share a language, no big deal. Look at the range on that though. That's really nice. Hang on. The telepathic connection lasts for a number of minutes equal to your sorcerer level. It ends early if you are incapacitated or die, or if you use this ability to form a connection with a different creature. So we can communicate for up to 5 miles, minimum of 1 mile. But this connection lasts for between 1 and 20 minutes. There's a bit of a disconnect between the first and second paragraph here. I don't understand why they felt the need to limit this ability at all, to be honest. As a DM, I would almost be inclined to just disregard that, or maybe even at least change it into a number of hours equal to your sorcerer level, because there is absolutely no point giving you a telepathic range of miles and then restricting it in such a small time frame. I mean, even if in the niche situation that you are jumping through a portal and that is increasing the distance between you exponentially very quickly, I mean, that portal has to take that person no more than 5 miles away from you, which is a very, well, you may as well take a carriage. It's a very, very short distance portal. So I just feel this could have been so much better. Personally, I prefer the ability of the Ghostwise Halfling, or the Psionic Rogue, or the other Eldritch subclass we have, the Great Old One Warlock. This is just not a very good telepathic ability. Moving on to 6th level, and a very good ability. When you cast a spell of 1st level or higher from your Psionic spells list, you can cast it by expending a spell slot as normal, or by spending a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level. If you cast the spell using sorcery points, it requires no verbal or somatic components, and it requires no material components unless they are consumed by the spell. This is fantastic. So there are 2 things going on here. First of all, you're getting to spend your sorcery points. This on its own is not fantastic, because your sorcery points are hotly contested with making spell slots and using them for meta magic. However, by casting them equal to spell level, what you're actually doing is casting them cheaper than you would be able to otherwise. The general formula breaks down to basically 2 sorcery points equals a 1st level spell, 5 equals a 3rd level spell, and so on. So you're casting extremely cheaply, a lot cheaper than if you were to convert these sorcery points into actual spell slots. So that in its own is pretty fantastic, but it goes a step further, reinforcing the psionic theming and with a niche use. So by requiring no verbal, somatic, or non-consumed material components, this basically means that you cannot be counterspelled when using those spells, and it makes it much more viable to use these spells in social public situations whilst being somewhat covert. That is a really great set of niche benefits to go on to a great overall benefit. But wait, there's more, because at 6th level we're also going to get psychic defenses. You gain resistance to psychic damage and have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. Wow, okay. So psychic damage is, it's okay. It's not particularly common, so it's not a great resistance to gain. However, charmed and frightened effects are actually particularly common. If you're fighting a dragon of some kind, there's a good chance that it will try to use frightful presence on you, for example. So I think that 6th level is overall a strong win for this sorcerer, and a peak because it is downhill from here. 14th level is going to see Revelation in Flesh. Now, this is basically a pick and mix of abilities. There are 4 options that you can choose from. As a bonus action, you can transform your body with these options for 10 minutes. Now, you can pick either any number of these abilities that you like, 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of them, and you gain 1 ability per sorcery point spent. 4 sorcery points, you get all of them. 2 sorcery points, pick the 2 that you want. So the abilities are, you can see any invisible creature within 60 feet of you, provided it isn't behind total cover. Your eyes also turn black or become writhing sensory tendrils. You gain a flying speed equal to your walking speed and can hover. As you fly, your skin glistens with mucus or shines with otherworldly light. You gain a swimming speed equal to your walking speed and you can breathe underwater. Moreover, gills grow from your neck or fan out from behind your ears. Your fingers become webbed or you grow writhing cilia that extend through your clothing. So if you thought that you could hide your eldritch weirdness, no. And finally, your body, along with any equipment you're carrying, becomes slimy and pliable. Told you there was a lot of mucus. You can move through any space as narrow as 1 inch without squeezing, and you can spend 5 feet of movement to escape from non-magical restraints or be grappled. So, this is terrible. Now you might be thinking, hey, wait, Paul, this is actually not that bad. Look, these are some really great abilities, and I would agree with you, except for the simple fact that this is not worth spending sorcery points on. There are 2 other origins that get the ability to fly at will, without looking weird doing it. If anything, the addition of wings makes you look cooler, and I am willing to defend that opinion. But flight is the ability that's really carrying this. Like, flight is mostly ubiquitously useful, especially since it comes with the hover feature, even if it is limiting you to your walking speed. That's great, and you can spend 1 sorcery point to get that, that's fine. But that's mostly what you're going to use it for. I mean, yes, if you are fighting invisible creatures, then the first ability could be good. If you're fighting invisible creatures, gaining a swimming and speed and the ability to breathe underwater could be really good. If you're underwater or need to go underwater, or you are vaguely near water and want to justify that being this subclass, and finally, squeezing, passing through something without squeezing, or escaping being grappled. This is just weird. I get they wanted to justify mucus mechanically, but come on, as a DM, the first thing that I see this is hey, this sorcerer would actually be pretty good at escaping prison. But I'm not gonna put a 14th level character in a normal mundane prison where a bit of mucus is gonna let you slime your way out. All of these abilities have potential value, but they are extremely niche and they compete with your sorcery point pool being drawn on by many other things. Creating slots, meta magic, casting your psionic spells. You have so many better uses of your sorcery points that these don't really seem worth it, apart from maybe flying. And even then, you'll just spend the 1 point and get flying. You could literally go your entire campaign without getting a use for any of these other things unless you actively seek it out. Personally, I would be more inclined to shove this in the 6th level spot, because then you're hey, I can fly really cheaply, and look at all these other cool niche things I can do. This is not worth being a 14th level feature, and it's not worth the cost. Enough of me ragging on that with my sick voice. And we'll go to the final ability, and no, I'm not particularly impressed by this either. Warping Implosion. So you get this at 18th level, the final sorceress ability you're going to get from your origin. You unleash your aberrant power in a space warping anomaly. As an action, you can teleport to an unoccupied space you can see within 120 feet of you. Immediately after you disappear, each creature within 30 feet of the space you left must make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 3d10 force damage and is pulled straight towards the space you left, ending in an occupied space as close to your former space as possible. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't pulled. You can do this for free once per long rest, or you can spend 5 sorcery points to do it again. Oh god, this is terrible. So, first of all, this ability is essentially the collapse distance ability from the Starspawn Seer, creature from Mordenkainen's Ten Wolf Foes, and I mean that's better on that creature because that creature can teleport other creatures to do this. So as a D6 hit die sorcerer with no additional hit points like you get from a Draconic sorcerer, you have to be in a position where this is beneficial to you. This is your capstone ability. You don't want to try and use this, but it does not allow you to pick who is affected, and you have to be within 30 feet of who you want to do this to. So just think about that. You as a sorcerer have to be amongst all of the bad guys, preferably with none of your allies within 30 feet of you, to get the most out of this ability. And then they're going to take a whopping 3d10, or what is that, 16.5 on average damage, and get pulled to where you left. I mean, that could be great for setting up a subsequent AoE attack like a fireball, but I mean, it's just a terrible ability. Like, all they really had to do to justify this was, instead of teleporting yourself, allow you to teleport another creature, or just abandon the teleporting thing and say, hey, you make a black hole. This black hole hurts people and pulls them closer together so you can AoE them. And it's going to do more than 3d10 damage, because that's kind of underwhelming when you've hit 18th level. Literally, so many things are better to use your action on than this ability. I have no doubt that there are some niche things. If you are alone, and you are surrounded, and you want to get out of dodge, hey, there's this. I mean, there's also Thunder Step, which is a 3rd level spell, or Misty Step, or Dimension Door. You know, I mean, you could be a Shadow Sorcerer and just teleport through shadows, but the fact that there's so many other ways that you could do this just reinforces how terrible this ability is. And I'm gonna end my hating there. It's not all bad. You know, if you want to play as Psionic Sorcerer and Aberrant Mind, and you are going to play this at a level equal to or greater than 6 and less than 14, then hey, you know, it's actually a pretty good subclass. You could have a lot of fun with it. If you really want to have a subclass that revolves around tentacles and mucus and gross everybody out, it could also be really fun. If you're looking for a psionic character, to be honest, I would play lots of other things. The Psi Knife or the Psi Warrior would be, the Soul Knife, sorry, would be great choices for a psionic alternative to this. Or I personally think that the Great Old One Warlock does the whole Eldritch psionic horror thing a lot better than this. But hey, that's just my rambling sick opinion. What do you guys think about the Aberrant Mind? Let us know in the comments down below, and whilst you're down there, hit that like button if you like this video. If you want more Tasha's and 5e content, then hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And if you want your next fix of D&D content, then smash one of those boxes appearing on screen right now. I've been Paul, I'm feeling pretty rough, and I'll see you next time at the Forge.